Ladies and gentlemen, let them doubt you. Let them talk. Let them think they know who you are, because while they waste their breath on you, you are investing in yourself. The biggest mistake you can make in life is thinking you owe people an explanation for your growth. You don't. There will be times when people will question your silence. They will try to pull you into debates, arguments, and distractions. Why? Because they can't handle the fact that you're evolving without their validation. But remember this, success is quiet. Growth is quiet. Power is quiet. The ones who are truly making moves don't waste time proving it. They just do it. If you're tired of feeling stuck, if you're tired of people draining your energy, if you're ready to elevate your life, then stop explaining, stop announcing, and start executing. Watch until the end, because today I'm about to tell you exactly why focusing on yourself and staying silent will be the greatest decision of your life. Your energy is your currency. Every time you react to negativity, every time you explain yourself to people who don't even care to understand, and every time you allow distractions to steal your focus, you are spending that energy. The difference between those who rise in life and those who stay stagnant isn't just talent, intelligence, or luck. It's how they choose to invest their energy. If you had a bank account that held a limited amount of money each day, would you waste it on things that give you no return? No. You would spend it wisely, ensuring that every dollar was used for something that moved you forward. Your energy works the same way. You wake up every morning with a limited amount of it. Where you put that energy determines the quality of your life. Most people don't realize how much they are draining themselves by giving attention to things that don't serve them. Arguments that lead nowhere, conversations with people who doubt you, seeking validation from those who don't even respect themselves. All of these things are silent thieves, stealing from your future while you don't even notice. When you focus on yourself, you stop giving these distractions access to your mind. You start becoming selective about where your energy goes, and that's when everything changes. Have you ever seen a highly disciplined person waste time proving themselves? No, they don't have time for that. They are too busy building, creating, learning, improving. They are too busy pouring their energy into things that will make them better. And that's why they succeed. Not because they were born lucky, but because they understood the value of their energy. Meanwhile, the average person is caught up in the cycle of reacting. They get triggered by what someone said about them. They let small things ruin their whole day. They argue about opinions that won't even matter tomorrow. They let their emotions control their actions instead of using their actions to control their emotions. But when you master where your energy goes, you master your life. Silence is one of the most powerful tools you have. It is the shield that protects your energy. It allows you to observe instead of react, to strategize instead of waste time explaining, and to grow in peace while everyone else is distracted. The truth is, people want your reaction because it gives them power over you. When you react, you hand them control. They know they can trigger you. They know they can pull you off track. But when you stay silent, when you remain focused, that's when you confuse them. That's when you take back your power. Your energy should be spent on things that make you better, on your goals, on your vision, on your self-improvement, on becoming so focused, so dedicated to your growth that you no longer have time to entertain nonsense. Ask yourself right now, where is your energy going? Are you spending it on things that bring you peace, strength, and progress? Or are you wasting it on temporary emotions, useless conversations, and people who drain you? The people who achieve greatness in life are not necessarily the smartest, they are not the most talented, they are the ones who learned to protect their energy. They don't explain why they are working late nights. They don't defend why they are cutting off distractions. They don't waste time trying to prove their worth to people who never believed in them in the first place. They simply stay silent, stay focused, and let their results do the talking. The truth is, most people don't actually care about your journey. They just want to see if you'll fail. They want entertainment, not understanding. And that's why you must learn to keep your energy reserved for those who truly matter, yourself and your goal. Let them misunderstand you. Let them think whatever they want. While they are talking, you are building. While they are wasting energy gossiping, you are investing your energy into something that will change your life. The world is full of distractions, but you don't have to participate. You don't have to explain, argue, or react. You just have to focus on yourself, protect your energy, and stay silent. Because in the end, success will be your loudest response. Silence is one of the most misunderstood strengths in the world. People expect noise. They expect explanations. They expect you to react, to argue, to defend yourself. But when you choose silence, you disrupt that expectation. You take away their power. You leave them confused. And in that confusion, you become untouchable. Most people think power comes from how much you say. They think being the loudest in the room makes them important. But true power, true strength, it comes from restraint. It comes from the ability to sit in silence while the world demands a response. It comes from knowing that you don't have to prove anything to anyone. Because the moment you feel the need to explain yourself, you've already given someone control over your emotions. Have you ever noticed that the most disciplined, most successful people don't waste time explaining their every move? That's because they understand that silence is not weakness, it's strategy. While others are talking, they are listening. While others are reacting, they are observing. While others are explaining, they are planning. Silence forces people to think. It makes them uncomfortable. When someone speaks and doesn't get the reaction they were expecting, they start second-guessing themselves. They start wondering if they said the right thing, if they pushed the right button, if they still have control over you. And when you don't respond, they realize they don't. The world teaches you to speak up, to defend yourself, to always have something to say. But not every situation deserves your words. Not every comment deserves a response. Not every person deserves an explanation. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stay silent and let your actions speak instead. Because here's the truth, people remember what you don't say more than what you do. When you argue, when you defend yourself, when you over-explain, you give them something to hold on to. But when you remain silent, when you walk away, when you refuse to engage, you leave them wondering. And that wondering is far more powerful than any argument you could ever have. There will always be people who try to get a reaction out of you. They will say things to trigger you. They will spread lies, question your character, and try to pull you into their negativity. And they do it for one reason, to see if they still have access to your emotions. But the moment you stop reacting, they lose. Because without your energy, without your response, they have nothing. Some of the greatest lessons in life come when you learn to keep quiet, when you stop giving people access to your thoughts, when you realize that your energy is sacred and that you don't owe an explanation to anyone who isn't invested in your growth. Silence isn't about weakness, it's about wisdom. It's about understanding that most arguments lead nowhere, that most explanations fall on deaf ears, and that most people who demand your words aren't even listening in the first place. Have you ever noticed how the people who talk the most usually accomplish the least? That's because they are too busy seeking validation, too busy explaining themselves to people who don't matter, too busy reacting instead of acting. The ones who truly succeed, they move differently. They operate in silence. They don't announce their plans, they just execute. They don't argue with doubters, they just prove them wrong. And that's the kind of power you need to embrace. The power of not needing to respond, the power of letting people think whatever they want while you continue to build, to grow, to become unstoppable. Because here's what will happen. One day, the very people who doubted you will see your success. They will see everything you built while you stayed silent. They will realize that while they were waiting for your reaction, you were out there creating results. So the next time someone tries to pull you into an argument, stay silent. The next time someone questions your choices, stay silent. The next time someone expects you to explain yourself, stay silent. Because in the end, silence isn't just a response. It's a statement. A statement that says, I don't need to prove anything. My results will do that for me. Most people waste their lives trying to prove themselves to people who don't even care. They explain their dreams to those who don't believe in them. They defend their choices to those who never supported them. They waste their energy seeking validation from people who will never respect them, and in the process, they lose sight of the only thing that truly matters: themselves. When you focus on yourself, everything changes. You stop explaining. You stop seeking approval. You stop waiting for permission to live the life you want. Instead, you start moving differently. You start building in silence. You start making decisions that serve your future instead of feeding your ego. And that shift, that's what separates those who succeed from those who stay stuck. Most people never reach their full potential because they are too busy trying to impress the wrong audience. They care too much about what others think. They hold themselves back because they're afraid of judgment. They want to be liked. They want to be accepted. But the hard truth is this: not everyone will understand your journey, and not everyone is supposed to. When you make the decision to focus on yourself, you will lose people. You will lose friendships that were built on convenience, not connection. You will lose relationships that only survived because you were always available, always accommodating, always putting others before yourself. But in losing them, you will find yourself. You will gain a sense of peace that only comes when you stop chasing people who were never meant to stay. The problem is, too many people are addicted to validation. They post every move on social media because they need attention. They explain every decision because they need approval. They tell the world what they're working on because they need recognition. But real success, real power, it comes when you learn to move in silence. Think about the most disciplined, most successful people you know. They don't talk about their next move, they just make it. They don't waste time explaining their vision, they just execute. They don't beg people to believe in them, they just prove them wrong because they understand something that most people don't. Energy spent explaining yourself is energy wasted. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your growth. You don't owe anyone a justification for why you are choosing to level up. The only person you need to answer to is yourself. And once you realize that, you become unstoppable. But here's the hard truth. Focusing on yourself is uncomfortable. It means being alone with your thoughts. It means facing your weaknesses. It means doing the work when no one is watching, when no one is clapping, when no one is cheering you on. And that's why most people avoid it. They would rather be distracted than disciplined. They would rather be entertained than educated. They would rather stay the same than do the hard work of becoming better. But if you want to win in life, you have to make a choice. A choice to stop explaining yourself. A choice to stop waiting for approval, a choice to stop living for others and start living for yourself. There will always be people who don't understand your journey. Let them be confused. There will always be people who doubt your decisions. Let them wonder. There will always be people who expect an explanation. Stay silent. Because in the end, your results will speak for themselves. The moment you stop explaining and start executing, you take back your power. You stop being a performer in someone else's show and start directing your own. You stop seeking validation and start giving yourself the only approval that matters, your own. So focus on yourself. Move in silence. Let your growth, your discipline, your results do the talking. Because in the end, success isn't something you announce, it's something you prove. There's a certain kind of power that comes from being unshakable, from knowing who you are and what you stand for without needing anyone else to validate it. When you focus on yourself and stay silent, you develop an inner strength that most people will never understand. Because the truth is, the moment you stop explaining yourself, the moment you stop reacting to every little thing, you gain a level of control that others can only dream of. Most people are addicted to distractions. They fill their time with meaningless conversations, gossip, and mindless entertainment, all to avoid facing themselves. They are always looking for the next thing to entertain them, the next person to impress, the next argument to engage in, and in doing so, they waste their most valuable resource: time. Time that could have been spent building, improving, and evolving. But when you make the decision to focus on yourself, everything shifts. You no longer seek external validation. You no longer need to be part of every conversation. You no longer waste energy trying to convince people who don't matter. Instead, you pour that energy into yourself. You become the person who moves differently, who operates on a different frequency. And that's when the world starts paying attention. Not because you're loud, but because your presence speaks for itself. The most successful people in the world understand this. They don't waste time arguing. They don't feel the need to prove themselves. They don't explain their every move. They just work. They build. They grow. And while the rest of the world is busy talking, they are making things happen in silence. But here's the hard truth. When you focus on yourself, people will misunderstand you. They will say you've changed. They will call you distant. They will assume you think you're better than them. But what they don't realize is that your silence isn't arrogance, it's discipline. It's the realization that not every battle is worth fighting, that not every comment deserves access to your energy. Most people don't understand the value of silence because they have never experienced real focus. They live in a world of noise, of constant chatter, of endless opinions. They believe that success comes from being seen, from being heard, from being acknowledged. But in reality, true success comes from discipline, from consistency, from the ability to block out distractions and stay locked in on your own journey. When you focus on yourself, you develop a different kind of confidence, the kind that doesn't need to be announced. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself to anyone because you know that your results will do that for you. You stop seeking approval because you have already given yourself permission to succeed. And when you reach that level, you become unstoppable. But this path isn't easy. It requires sacrifice. It means walking away from people who drain your energy. It means saying no to distractions even when they seem tempting. It means choosing growth over comfort, discipline over entertainment, silence over meaningless noise. Most people will never understand why you choose this path. They will question you. They will try to pull you back into old habits. They will expect you to justify your decisions. But you don't owe anyone an explanation. You don't owe anyone your energy. The only thing you owe yourself is to keep going, to keep improving, to keep becoming the best version of yourself. People fear what they don't understand. And when you start moving in silence, when you start focusing on yourself, when you stop reacting to every little thing, people won't know how to handle it. They will be confused. They will wonder what you're up to. They will try to provoke you just to get a reaction. But that's when you know you're on the right path, because the strongest person in the room is always the one who doesn't need to prove it. So let them talk, let them assume, let them wonder. While they waste time trying to figure you out, you'll be too busy building, too busy growing, too busy becoming the person you were always meant to be. Because in the end, success isn't something you announce, it's something you prove. And the only way to do that is to focus on yourself and stay silent. Most people are too distracted to make real progress in life. They spend their energy on things that don't serve them: pointless conversations, mindless entertainment, constant arguments, and the endless need for validation. They give away their focus so easily, not realizing that the key to success, to real growth, lies in mastering the ability to control their attention. When you focus on yourself and stay silent, you create a force that is undeniable. You stop letting the outside world dictate your emotions. You stop reacting to negativity. You stop wasting time on people who don't add value to your life. And in doing so, you unlock a level of power that most people will never experience. Not everything deserves your response. Not every comment needs a reply. Not every situation requires your attention. The moment you realize this, you start to see things differently. You start to guard your energy. You start to move with purpose. And that's when real transformation begins. Think about how much time people waste arguing over things that don't matter, defending themselves to people who will never change their minds, explaining their goals to people who don't even believe in them, seeking approval from people who secretly hope they fail. What's the point? Why give your energy to something that takes away from your growth? When you learn to stay silent and focus on yourself, you become more dangerous than ever before, because now your energy is protected. Now your mind is clear. Now your actions are intentional. And when you move with intention, when you put all your focus into becoming better, stronger, and smarter, everything changes. People will notice the shift. They will sense that you are no longer accessible like you used to be. They will realize that they can no longer distract you, manipulate you, or get a reaction out of you. And that will make them uncomfortable, because people are used to controlling those who are easily influenced, those who are always available, those who need constant validation. But when you remove yourself from that game, when you become unshakable, they don't know how to handle it. The strongest people are not the loudest in the room. They are the ones who listen, observe, and move in silence. They don't waste words. They let their actions do the talking. They don't beg for recognition. They earn it through discipline. And because of that, they always come out on top. There is a reason why successful people protect their focus. They know that every distraction, every unnecessary argument, every wasted moment takes them further away from their goals. That's why they don't announce their every move. That's why they don't explain themselves. That's why they don't react to negativity. They understand that their time and energy are too valuable to be spent on things that don't serve them. But most people don't get this. They are addicted to noise, addicted to drama, addicted to seeking validation from people who don't even matter. They spend their days proving themselves instead of improving themselves. And then they wonder why they never see progress. If you want to win in life, you have to make a choice to block out distractions, a choice to stop reacting to everything, a choice to stay focused, stay silent, and let your success make the noise. It won't be easy. There will be moments when you'll want to explain yourself, moments when you'll want to react, moments when you'll want to prove people wrong. But remember this: your silence is more powerful than any argument. Your discipline is more powerful than any explanation. Your results are more powerful than any words you could ever say. So let people wonder. Let them assume. Let them talk. While they waste time trying to figure you out, you'll be too busy working, too busy growing, too busy becoming the best version of yourself. Because in the end, the only thing that truly matters is not what they think, but what you do. Is something powerful about a person who moves in silence, someone who doesn't announce their every step, who doesn't seek validation, who doesn't need to prove themselves to anyone. When you focus on yourself and stay silent, you develop a level of control that most people will never have. Because the moment you stop explaining, the moment you stop reacting, you take back your power. Most people don't understand this. They believe that in order to be respected, they need to be loud. They think that success comes from being seen, from being heard, from making sure everyone knows what they are doing. But in reality, the most successful people in the world are the ones who work in the shadows. They don't waste time talking, they are too busy doing. The more you talk about your plans, the less likely you are to follow through. That's because talking gives you a false sense of accomplishment. It tricks your mind into believing that you've already done something, when in reality, you've only wasted energy explaining instead of executing. This is why silence is so important. It keeps you focused. It keeps you disciplined. It forces you to put in the work instead of just talking about it. When you stop announcing your moves, people will start to wonder. They will start asking questions. They will become curious about what you're doing, where you've been, why you've changed. And that's a good thing. Because now they are forced to watch your results instead of listening to your words. Now your success speaks louder than anything you could ever say. But this path is not for everyone. Most people can't handle the silence. They feel uncomfortable when they're not constantly explaining themselves. They feel the need to prove their worth, to justify their actions, to defend their choices. But the truth is, you don't owe anyone an explanation. Your goals are yours. Your journey is yours. Your success is yours. And the only person you need to impress is yourself. People will always have opinions. They will always have something to say. They will always try to figure you out. But the moment you stop reacting, the moment you stop feeding into their curiosity, is the moment you take control. Because now they have nothing to work with. Now they are left in the dark. And that's exactly where you want them to be. When you focus on yourself and stay silent, you gain an advantage. You become unpredictable. People can't interfere with what they don't know. They can't sabotage plans they haven't heard. They can't ruin what they can't see. And that's why silence is so powerful. It protects you from unnecessary obstacles, unnecessary opinions, unnecessary negativity. Most people don't realize how much energy they waste explaining themselves, trying to convince others, trying to prove their worth. But the truth is, the strongest people don't explain. They don't justify. They don't seek approval. They just do. And in doing so, they command more respect than anyone who speaks too much ever could. When you stay silent, you learn to observe. You start noticing things you never paid attention to before. You see people's true intentions. You recognize who is genuinely supportive and who is just curious. You become more aware, more strategic, more in control. And that kind of awareness is priceless. So let people talk, let them assume, let them wonder. While they are busy discussing your silence, you will be too busy working on yourself, too busy improving, too busy becoming the person you are meant to be. Because in the end, it's not the ones who talk the most who win. It's the ones who work the hardest in silence. At the end of the day, the choice is yours. You can waste your energy explaining yourself to people who will never truly understand you, or you can channel that energy into becoming the best version of yourself. You can let distractions pull you in every direction, or you can protect your focus and move in silence. You can chase validation, or you can let your success do the talking. The strongest people in the world are not the loudest. They are the ones who know the value of discipline, the power of focus, and the strength of silence. They don't seek approval, they seek progress. They don't argue, they outwork. They don't announce, they execute. So step back from the noise, stop explaining, stop reacting, stop looking for permission to be great. Move in silence, build in silence, and let them wonder. Because when the results finally speak, they will say everything that words never could.